Hello and welcome to the Ladies Best Life podcast. I hope you're feeling sensational on this fine Monday morning or whatever it is that you're listening to this. So today I want to talk to you about creating your own definition of a healthy, fulfilling, joyous lifestyle. I see so many people who are following, influencers or athletes or people who are even coaches like myself, and they try and mimic what they do without taking into consideration, one, their own circumstances, and two, what even feels right for you. What do you want it to look like? But do you know why you maybe don't do this? Do you know why you maybe don't sit to think and reflect of what that actually looks like for you? It's usually because you don't give yourself the time. You just want a quick fix. You want that answer almost instantly of what it is that you need to do in order to look and feel better. But if we just stop and think about this for a second, if you're constantly doing what other people are doing and never giving yourself the time to check in with yourself, what is that going to lead to? One is a very quick way to get confused, but two, also misaligned. And when we're misaligned, we're not really operating as ourselves. And this is where we see really frequently women come into the coaching club and they're like, I just feel like I've lost myself. I don't even know who I am, what I want, what I value, what I stand for, let alone the kind of life that I want to create and how I want to feel. So I get how isolating it is. I get how confusing it can be. But I really want you just to consider this today. So whether you're walking the dog or driving to work, give yourself some time to ask the following questions. What does a healthy lifestyle that brings you joy, fun, fulfillment, and energy, what does it look like to you? Because we all know that eating better foods, so better quality foods and less processed foods, drinking more water, prioritizing sleep, getting fresh air every day, having some great communication and connections around you, all make us feel pretty good. But how often do we allow ourselves the time to get granular on what that kind of ultimate healthy, fulfilling lifestyle looks like? That's what I'd love for you to start with today. And you may be like, oh, Sash, I just don't know. There are so many ways I can go about it. That's okay. The biggest challenge for you right now is giving yourself, not finding, giving yourself the time to sit down and reflect on it, to actually think what it looks like for you, to put pen to paper. Because I can almost guarantee when you start that, the words will just start rolling off your tongue or off your pen. It's probably the better way to say it. So that's the first thing I'd like you to consider today. If you're in a bit of a stuck state at the minute and you're like, I just keep stopping and starting. We called this in the coaching club a couple of weeks ago, the queen of the flop, because you just keep flopping. You start and then you flop, you start and then you flop. So if you are currently queen of the flop, which take that in any way you want, maybe it's time that we give ourselves just 20 minutes with a notepad and pen, maybe a brew next to you, and just explore with it. And you'll have some people who will pipe up and be like, that's not right. This isn't right. You need to do this. Keto's the way forwards. Cambridge is best for this, and fucking all a load of bullshit, right? But you've got to think about what is right for you. Ignore the noise. Focus in for a second. And again, this is something that is not usually celebrated or encouraged by society. It's really allowing us to think, give us the opportunity to think. You don't get taught at school to think. You get taught to follow processes. You get taught to do things a certain way. But can you allow yourself the time and the opportunity today or tomorrow or at some point throughout this week to think what's right for you? What is right for me, for example, will look very different to what is right for you. For starters, I don't have children and you may do. I'm currently in Bali. You may be at home in England. I have a business that's pretty much on my terms. You may work in a business where you are less free. So there is never any preaching coming from me. And in fact, this is what I'm helping you to do today, is to start to explore what it can look like for you in your current circumstances. So first of all, start by asking yourself that question. What does it look like for me? And if you wanted to take this a little bit more explorative, step one could actually be going down the route of, if my circumstances weren't my circumstances, if I had no strings attached to anything, if I could do anything in the world, what would my optimal life look like? How would I create a healthy lifestyle and one that is fun and fulfilling, or whatever you want it to be? You might not want it to be fun. I mean, I don't think that would be a thing, but you never know. So just think about that to begin. Imagine there's no strings attached. What would it look like for you? That's step one, right? Step two is then apply circumstances, family, career, where you are in the world, financial. Then go again, rewrite it. What can it actually look like? How close can you get to the dream result, the dream process, but with applying your current circumstances? Because a lot of the time we will cap ourselves and we'll think that we are much less able to do the things than we actually are. Many women that I work with will have that initial struggle of asking for help. They find it so hard. They literally feel like they've got to do everything. Their boundaries are pretty poor and they're constantly people pleasing to everyone else, leaving themselves to the dregs of their energy. So when you're doing the second part, which is applying circumstances, think about which of your circumstances can be made slightly more manageable, more manageable, I think is enough. If you were to ask for help more, if you were to have stronger boundaries. Because I can almost guarantee for 90% of the people listening to this podcast, that will open up a ton of new doors, new possibilities, new ways to do things. And then what I want you to do, so step three, is look at how your life differs from the desired realistic lifestyle that you want to live. What's different about it? And try and break this right down to actions and habits. So maybe right now you literally wake up and faceplant coffee, okay? But in your aspired state, you hydrate before you caffeinate. Maybe you're currently not, inverted commas, finding the time to exercise. Maybe aspired state is you're training 3 times a week for 15 minutes, if that's all you can give. So just have a little look at the difference between current and desired. That's step number 3. Step number 4 is cherry pick just one of those habits. And say, for example, it is the workout that you want to be doing 3 times 15-minute workouts every single week. Just start with 1. Don't worry about going all the way up to 3, because that might be a bit too much of a push. It may be okay. But sometimes what can stop us on this journey is expectations are too big and we can't meet them. So give yourself the lowest barrier of entry that you possibly can. So what I want you to take off the back of this today is, 1, realizing that you get to define what it looks like for you. You get to create the expectations. Off the back of that, what I want you to do is just come up with one thing that you're going to stick to, ideally every single day. So break it down to a daily habit rather than just something that you do once a week. So it could be get fresh air every morning, even if it's just 5 minutes. Sometimes you'll be able to go out for a walk. Other times it's just standing on the back door with 3 big breaths coming into the body. Okay. And I want you to try and do that for 21 days solid and then continue it. Okay. Once you've nailed that first one, once it's relentlessly consistent and attainable, not exceeding expectations, you can then look at the list and come to the second one. And remember, this is great because it's all based around what you want, how you want your life to go, the lifestyle that is both attainable and it's something that you desire. So what I'd love from you today is to give those a go, but also hit me up in my inbox, either on Instagram or Facebook, or if you're on my email list, you can also reply to one of the emails there and let me know what your first habit is that you're going to start to implement. Cannot wait to hear of you. Have an incredible day, and I'll see you next week.